passed a bipartisan infrastructure bill. The question is, when will it actually get to President Biden's desk? And amid rising COVID concerns, the Television Academy is taking the Emmys outdoors and limiting the number of people who can attend the ceremony.
Man, I just had the best black beans ever. Oh my god.
It's way too early for this.
That's a weird spirit.
Good morning and welcome to Way Too Early, the show that thinks all the nominees are winners. I'm Alicia Menendez on this Wednesday, August 11th. Let's start with the news. New York Governor Andrew Cuomo is stepping down.
Well, I'm drinking organic turmeric tea and my ear just popped.
Saying he could no longer effectively lead the state and will end his time in office in 2 weeks. The decision comes as the New York Assembly prepares to end its month-long impeachment probe. The governor faces potential civil and criminal penalties from
Man, honey is so good for you. That stuff's amazing. I think there's stuff in honey that's so good for you that they don't even know how to quantify it. You know what I'm saying? It's like, what kind of honey measuring instruments are they using? But there's really no food like it if you think about it. Really, right? It's not a vegetable. It's not a fruit. It's not a meat. I think PETA classifies it as meat. I classify it as medicine. But from bees make it. It's phenomenal stuff.
The best way I can help you now is if I step aside and let government get back to government. And therefore that's what I'll do. And my resignation.
I just had a little box of, and boxes, man, I'm so happy that Whole Foods has boxes instead of cans, because I don't want to use cans anymore. But they had boxes of black beans cooked, and I just add turmeric, garlic, black pepper, pink salt, and some pumpkin seeds. Oh yeah, so yummy.
He said twice he respected Cuomo's decision to step down. He was then asked about the job the governor has done.
Man, the only thing that bugs me is that the news goes slow, so if you watch a bunch of news hours in a row, then sometimes you get the same exact stuff. It takes a while for it to cycle through. I guess Cuomo's a little bit like Giuliani was in 9/11, because Rudy Giuliani stepped up and led them through that tragedy when the Twin Towers fell, and Cuomo led them through COVID.
And investigated, and the judgment was made that they said was correct. That's one thing. The question is, did he do a good job in infrastructure? That's the question. He did. No, the question was, correct me if I'm wrong. Well, the government, obviously, outside his personal data.
Okay, Lo Santo.
Secretary Jen Psaki later tweeted about Biden's comments, writing, quote, "The president responded to a specific question today about the governor on infrastructure. He also made clear it was right for Governor Cuomo to step down, reiterated his support for women to come forward, and made clear you can't separate personal behavior from other work." Capitol Hill now, where after months of negotiations,
Democrats tend to police their own.
Infrastructure bill, the centerpiece of President Biden's economic agenda. The roughly $1 trillion proposal will pour money into the country's aging infrastructure. It includes funding for roads, bridges and highways, high-speed internet, clean water, and more. The final vote was 69-30 with 19...
I think it would have been a little different if it would have required a special election and they could have lost the governorship to a Republican right away. Or if, say for instance, the lieutenant governor was a Republican. I'm not sure how that would happen, but if that were so, I think that he's talking about it.
The chamber is now on its second day of up to 50 hours of debate on the infrastructure bill. Amendments to the bill proceeded at a rapid pace, and among those passing, one to prohibit enactment of the Green New Deal, one for a fund to address climate change, and one to protect hydraulic fracking. Debate can end at any time as both
Protect
sides can yield
hydraulic
their
fracking.
25
What the hell does that mean?
they choose.
Protect it?
If it were
How about they use organic fracking
House
fluid,
plans
for
to
fuck's sake?
take up the bill when the
God
Senate
damn.
completes its work.
These people are injecting this weird chemical cocktail into the soil
Sent a letter to members instructing
that nobody will ever be able to get out of the soil.
August 23rd,
And they're removing the fossil fuels,
will likely be taken up as well.
and it's causing earthquakes.
46 Republican senators signed onto a letter circulated by Senator Ron Johnson of Wisconsin saying they will not support
Let
an
the
increase
bad
in
blood
the debt
lie.
ceiling to accommodate Democratic spending, forcing Democrats to take sole responsibility for higher debt.
Yeah, the U.S. says that they're energy independent now, and 100 million Native Americans passed away or slaughtered. I think that has something to do with it. But there's apparently enough oil and gas. Unless they're just stealing it from Venezuela or somebody. Saying it's theirs.
On their $3.5 trillion human infrastructure bill. Now, both of these measures go over to the House of Representatives. The bipartisan bill.
There's some weird commercials about buying domestic oil and how great it is.
Now, Speaker Pelosi said
People-
this
we should be
is
getting
only
off that
going to
crap.
take up when they come back into session later this month. The $3.5 trillion.
Changes.
Still back there. That was just minutes after the
TikTok suggests Cuomo can make a comeback.
A comeback, and he wasn't kidding. What's it gonna
What's
be?
up, Chemical Crowd?
The He-Man Women's Hater Club? I mean, what are we talking about here? Does he actually think he's going to be governor again? Because sexual harassment allegations to be very sticky. He still has the nursing home investigation going on, 15,000 dead, and he almost has no allies in Albany, in New York, in the first place. Before any of this came out, he's not a very well-liked person. So to say that, Andrew Cuomo
He's looked at 3 times.
It's
It's pretty well
interesting.
relaxed.
Overall, it's another lesson, guys. When you prop up
And you had the whole COVID thing. Like, everybody was captive. I recorded some videos last year when everybody was, like, hunkering down or self-quarantining. And because he, like, captivated the country. And the country was kind of... It was home a lot because of COVID. And it just felt really weird. Like, almost like that syndrome where you kind of start to like your captors.
was so ridiculous, it's so predictable, and the person
And they're just like, all right.
for not buying into any of it was Janice Dean, who was
I listened to it for a while, but it was just so New York centric. And I was in Kauai, and I was like, Jesus, this is like thousands and thousands of miles away. So, but it was still kind of interesting.
Also breaking in the last hour, the Senate taking a major step toward passing Democrats' $3.5 trillion reconciliation by approving their budget blueprint.
Griff Jenkins would normally be the top story. Instead, he's 9 minutes deep into the newscast.
Griff.
With the latest on this Griff. Blaine Cuomo.
It's a terrible name.
Always first in hearts, Brett.
Oh, thank you very much. Listen, the Senate had been very busy just a block away from us, and they did, as you mentioned, Jillian, take that first step towards passing the $3.5 trillion budget reconciliation package. It was
Wow.
50-49, straight down party line.
50-49.
One Republican, Mike Brown, was absent, and
Ah.
Majority Leader Chuck Schumer is,
that-
surprisingly, hailing the passage.
Despite this long road we've taken,
It just did this, I think.
we have finally reached the finish line. Of course, we Democrats believe we need to do much more.
That's awesome.
But Minority Leader Mitch McConnell is blasting the partisan move.
I think I have to go to the House now.
But
I'm not sure.
Resolutions
Resolutions are weird.
And handed the squad a pen and piece of paper.
This after overnight, the Senate
They may feel tricked or something, I don't know.
$2 trillion infrastructure
Because
bill.
they just passed one with bipartisan support, and now they said they're going to put it on hold or not do it or whatever, and try to get the other one passed through budget reconciliation, so they don't need the Republicans to get on board with a big one. Wow.
It also includes $2.75 billion
Rails,
for
god damn it. See,
equity, $2 million for beach-friendly landscaping.
I had a feeling that trains were going to be in there, but I just hope it fucking greens the trains. We don't need any more goddamn carbon pollution from anything, including trains.
This is an
Planes, trains, and automobiles.
This is a radical left woke politics bill that has stuff like gender identity mandates in it. The radical equity agenda, the Green New Deal, that's all in this bill.
Just get us off of fossil fuels, for fuck's sake.
The president's meeting with mayors and governors to discuss the infrastructure bill today, but will it make it
Like for just a minute, you think everybody, Republicans and Democrats, care about the country and want it to improve. And then you hear what's in it, and how people are talking about it, and then you're like, oh shit, paying for some weird pork.
Todd and Jillian about this $3.5 trillion bill, which includes, among other things, free community college and climate change initiatives. That, of course, could see some challenges.
That sounds epic.
This is just the beginning. Griff, thank you very much.
It is 11 minutes after the hour. The CDC revised
California has free college for poor people, junior college. But having free college for everybody, junior college, community college, whatever you call it, throughout the country would be awesome. I was thinking about taking some courses in Hawaii. And then I was thinking about returning to California to finish my degree in journalism. And I think it was going to be free in Cali, but not in Hawaii.
More than friends in real life? I can't believe this story. The rumors, the romance rumors that have everyone talking this morning. I can't believe this.
Americans love entertainment. That's all they really want to do is be entertained. Commercials. It's all jiggling everything around now. San Diego Padres won, man. They're doing so good. Damn. It's so fun to root for a team that's winning, that's your home team from childhood. If I'm not mistaken, it looks like they've got a 4-game win streak, and that if the season were to end today, that they would get a wild card berth. I think both of the wild card teams would come from the National League West, and so the Los Angeles Dodgers and San Diego Padres. I can't remember how many they take. They might take 4 teams now, but I thought they took at least 2 wild card teams. And so San Francisco would win the division. And then probably the Dodgers and Padres would do a quick series, or a game or 2 or something. Figure out who's going to move on. Kind of weird division, because the Diamondbacks we just swept the Diamondbacks, who absolutely stink. So sometimes it goes that way when you have like one of the best teams in baseball in your division. Sometimes you also have the worst team in baseball too, that everybody just beats up on. D-backs.
Lionel Messi, Paris Saint-Germain. The 34-year-old flew to France yesterday to sign a 2-year contract that includes an option for a 3rd season with the PSG, where he is reportedly set to earn around $41 million per year. Messi's move now official after Barcelona said last week the soccer legend would not be staying at his longtime club because of financial and structural obstacles. At a news conference on Sunday, Messi broke down in tears when he confirmed he was leaving Barcelona after 21 years. Turning now to Major League Baseball, we begin in Boston, where the Tampa Bay Rays rallied to victory over the Red Sox last night, taking advantage of Boston's bases-loaded error in the 9th inning that allowed 3 runs to score. The Rays take the first of the 3-game division series 8-4. The loss drops the Red Sox another full game behind Tampa, now with a 5-game lead atop the American League East. The Boston stays 2 games
first place
ahead of the Yankees
versus second
after
place
4
team.
errors and an ugly 8-4 loss in Kansas City last night as New York clings to a half-game advantage.
They're right behind the Yankees. I mean, right behind the Red Sox.
Against the Angels.
Blue Jays are way up there too. Wow, they've got four really good teams in their division.
Falling 9-4 in a last night's rain-delayed game against Detroit.
That looks
Despite
painful.
this scary collision in the Tigers' outfield during the eighth inning that sent both players involved to the locker room.
Center fielder ran into the left fielder, and the center fielder got it.
Detroit's manager later said both guys were pretty beat up and in a lot of
That
pain
left fielder
and
should
still
have
undergoing
got out of
tests.
his way.
And finally, the Dodgers trade Turner, one of the
Center
fastest
fielder
runners
is-
in the majors, put his speed on display in the sixth inning of last night's game in Philadelphia, zooming from second to score on a single line to right field. But the real highlight was his slide at home, which looked like something out of the baseball ballet. Turner touching the plate with his left hand as he slid through, using his bottom leg to move seamlessly into
Sick way
standing
to
position.
stay out of the way.
Well, amazing. Dodgers beat the Phillies 5-0.
I thought he might have missed it.
Let's
That
go to
was a pretty
meteorologist
big-
Bill Cairns for the forecast. Bill?
That was graceful, Alicia. You need that in slow-mo, too. All right, so let's get to this forecast. We got so much going on with the heat, and now we have a tropical storm, too, to deal with. But the heat is the big dangerous thing. That's the immediate concern. And this heat wave goes from coast to coast.
Heat
We have
advisory,
warnings in
heat watch,
effect
heat
for
warning.
areas from the
Jesus.
Northwest all the way through Northern California. That does not help, obviously, with firefighting
Exactly.
efforts. And in total, across the country, 121 million people impacted by this heat wave. And now we have excessive heat warnings that are up for Philadelphia, New York City, too. The Midwest continues to be very hot with heat warnings in St. Louis and Kansas
Boston,
City.
New York,
And how hot
California.
will it be? Well, today, the heat
93
index, that's the
Charlotte,
number you're going to see there
95
on the right. DC will feel like 105.
Feel like 105.
St. Louis, 111. Memphis,
105.
111, too.
Like
And it looks like the heat's going to be about 3 to 4 days in most locations, right through Friday in areas from Cincinnati to Nashville. DC will be 96 to 99 by Wednesday and Thursday and Friday. And here's the feels like temperature. The worst for New York City will be on Thursday, 105. DC, 108 on Thursday.
They should give us descriptive words on how it feels like, not numbers. Feels like a number. Feels like a number? What does a number feel like?
Now for the tropics, we do have our tropical storm Fred. It is now
Good Morning Vietnam and Robin Williams does the weather.
This is a weak storm. It's going to be over the Dominican Republic as we go throughout the
They
day
should,
today.
but seriously, they should use adjectives, not numbers. They want to tell us how something feels. Because then you have to recall, like, oh, okay. See, where was I when it was 105?
What did
that feel like? But they could just say,
you know, so Alicia,
more
for our
descriptive.
friends in Florida, now's not the time for action. You don't have to worry about evacuations or anything like that. Because at this time, looks like it should remain a weakish type storm.
Feels
So
like a
we'll continue
sauna.
to monitor it. And that's all anyone really has to do at this
Feels
point.
like a
As someone who lived
sauna.
in Florida for 7
Full
years,
effect
I am well accustomed to watching those
With their
maps
shoes
and
on.
seeing where they are going. Bill
Breathing on
Cairns,
you.
as always, thank you.
Yeah.
Still ahead, as the
With
Taliban
99.
continues its advance in Afghanistan, the U.S. envoy delivers a blunt message to those militants. More on that in a moment. We will be right back.
Taliban kicks ass.
I wish the media elites would have said the same thing about Obama's birthday party. It looked like a blast. I didn't get that invite, but
I don't like their
they're going to
politics.
hate on Florida. They're going to continue to hate on Florida.
I
But just look,
don't particularly like the Yankees.
She put a travel ban to Florida,
I like
and then
Jimmy
she traveled to Florida. So again, I think let the numbers speak for themselves. 900 people a day are moving to our great state. You know, it's a great place to live. I'm born and raised there. I'm raising my family there, and people are learning that every single day.
Jimmy Petronas, thanks for getting on with us. We appreciate it.
Sure, take care.
Me too. Time now, 19 minutes after the hour. Parents across the country have been flooding their school board meetings to protest critical race theory, and that debate now taking center stage in Middle America. A Kansas mom who says parents are the last line of defense joins us live next.
Plus, a patriot trying to honor veterans, first responders, and freedom sued for taking stars and stripes to new heights. The details behind his flag fight still to come. Can you mix a song?
Unique boosting formula is powered. Daily Trilogy and
More drugs. Every commercial's trying to sell me drugs. Americans must be just full of drugs. Full of drugs. I don't take any pills. I don't like pills. I think you should do whatever you want with your body, as long as you don't hurt somebody. Be true. Word.
Maybe the greatest player of all time, Lionel Messi, being introduced as we speak with this new team in Paris. This is the only story that anyone cares about in my household, to be honest. Andy Phil's my little son.
Yeah.
You got this one this weekend for it. Hi, man.
Big day in the Romans household. Big day in Paris, Christine. You know, this is the equivalent of Tom Brady leaving the Patriots for the Tampa Bay Bucks. You know, Messi, he's been
$40 million a year.
since he was
2-year
13
blockbuster
years
deal.
old. Wanted to stay there, but financial limitations forced him to
Maybe
take
it's a little bit like what Beckham did when he came over to the U.S. You know, towards the end of his career, just sort of a rental, change of scenery. Some professional athletes do that. A long time ago, people used to be more loyal to one team for their whole career, I think. But once in a while, they would switch towards the end, too.
Hundreds of fans greeting him at the airport, and then more gathering outside of his hotel. Messi expected to make
Spain to France.
by the end of the month. All right, in the meantime, 9-time NBA All-Star Russell Westbrook fulfilling his childhood dream by joining his hometown team, the Los Angeles Lakers. The NBA's all-time leader in triple-doubles called it surreal in his introductory news conference. Westbrook will now look to win his first NBA championship alongside LeBron and Anthony Davis. For the 13th season, NBA veteran said he's really got nothing left to prove.
When I got drafted in NBA,
It's funny how it's such a short lifespan these pro athletes have. And how they make their money on just endorsements and advertisements, ticket sales, stuff like that.
I go to college, go to UCLA, from NBC down.
Just gobs of money. And then they're done. And they're in their 40s, and then they have something like
HBO series Hard Knocks is back again this year featuring the Dallas Cowboys. In episode 1 detailed Dak Prescott's journey to come back from his horrible injury last year. Also featured his birthday and running back Ezekiel Elliott.
Just- I'm not watching NFL football anymore. I hate it.
Instead, sending a special envoy to the region.
He will press the Taliban to stop their military offensive and to negotiate political settlement.
People here are tired
think it's
of war
anti-American.
and have little hope for peace. She says our children have no future.
U.S. envoy Zalmay Khalilzad reportedly warned the Taliban against hostile government takeover. The AP says he told leaders in the office that any regime which comes to power
I'll take
by force
that away from
will
that.
not be recognized internationally.
My favorite player committed
Khalilzad is
suicide.
expected to continue
Junior
talks
Seau.
this week with other leaders in the region. President Biden
He
says
had
he does not
CTE,
regret the
and all
decision
they're
to
doing is
withdraw
giving each
from
other
Afghanistan,
brain damage.
even as the situation there grows more stark.
And
We
injuring
spent over $1
children.
trillion. Over
Nothing redeeming about it whatsoever.
We trained and equipped with modern equipment over 300,000 Afghan forces. And Afghan leaders have to come together. We lost thousands, death and injury, thousands of American personnel. They've got to fight for themselves, fight for their nation.
This guy is always reading.
President promised to continue providing air support to resupply Afghan troops with food and equipment and to pay their salaries. Still ahead, some of the women who accused Governor Andrew Cuomo of sexual harassment are reacting to his resignation, what they are saying about his apology, plus tensions between President Biden and GOP governors where mass mandates are ramping.
It's been 20 years in Afghanistan. I don't think people are going to question them too much. I don't hear the Republicans aren't questioning them. And they are usually big on the military. And have some clue about the military. It was not a real popular war. The objectives weren't real clearly defined or anything. I don't think they even knew what to do. I think they're just trying to hold back the Taliban. At best, at worst, had something with poppy drugs.
The State Department blaming the violence on the Trump administration, saying its deal with the Taliban made the situation preordained.
Arizona Congressman Andy Biggs introducing 2 articles of impeachment impeachment against DHS Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas. The Republican is accusing Mayorkas of overseeing a, quote, reckless abandonment of border security and failing to put public health protections in place. Meantime, Mayorkas and National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan met with
Same picture. Fox has shown this picture several times from Joya, Texas. Alex Berger. I know it's La Jolla, but
Fox News contributor Sarah
La Jolla has two
Carter spoke to
L's.
residents in South Texas who are fed up over the amount of COVID-positive migrants flooding their communities.
What scared the death out of me is that, you know, as an unassuming citizen, you hear the narrative that they're going to quarantine these people, they're going to be wearing PPE, they're going to be guarded in some way. They're not. It's a lie.
We have compassion. We're not saying that we don't. But at the same time, this is in our backyard. What about our children? What about our families?
President, we are now in the biggest super spreader event of COVID in this world, right here on the border.
A new NBC News report shows 18% of migrant families and 20% of unaccompanied minors have tested positive for coronavirus upon leaving CBP custody over the past 3 weeks.
The Texas Supreme Court ruling the runaway Democrats.
I don't know if they should have to get vaccinated to enter the country. Probably not.
The ruling overturning a lower court's restraining order.
Should probably get the masks and teach them about social distancing.
Texas Democrats broke
And give them a
quorum
shower.
and fled to D.C. last month to block the voting reform bill from passing. Some of them have returned to Texas while 25 remain in Washington.
Okay, a California food
It's easy to say them just do something to them like shoot them or job them.
to cancel the word curry because of its British colonialism origins. Take a listen.
I'm not even going to bother with asking this voiceover because I have more important things to discuss, like canceling the word curry or still using this umbrella term popularized by white people who couldn't be bothered to form the actual names of our dishes.
The blogger known as Rooted in Spice went on to encourage viewers to unlearn the word. She is urging to replace it with the individual names of each dish.
She must be really fun at parties. Like a blast.
That's interesting.
I don't think I've seen many
My dad used to talk about curry.
You're on the blogging space?
blogs.
We'll get down that.
Okay.
Also, more selling movies. I'm going back to that one a little more than
He was in Friends. We figured this out. Okay. More important news. 28 minutes after the hour.
How funny
Governor
is
Andrew
that?
Cuomo's days in Albany are numbered due to his sexual harassment scandal, but many still want the embattled Democrat held accountable for his nursing home cover-up, including our own Janice Dean, who lost both of her in-laws in New York nursing homes. She joins us next.
we all thought about Janice when we saw that news come out. And how about this close call? A car plowing into a tattoo parlor, nearly crushing an artist putting fresh ink on a client. More when we come back.
Wow. Wow. This car just drove right through a storefront. Only on Fox.
Americans are now
Fox has got the crazy drivers down.
That's still just over 50%. According to an NBC News count, cases are up by over 190,000.
Maybe it's some liberal driver lives are like, oh, we didn't see
The
it.
latest.
Delta driving COVID cases to dangerous highs. The variant now tied to 93% of U.S. infections.
That's an A.
The spikes coming in Texas, Missouri, Florida, and Arkansas, where Monday brought its
More.
largest single-day increase in hospitalizations since the start of the pandemic.
We got hospitals.
Patients flowing into Arkansas hospitals at double the national rate.
We're making jobs.
Any of the prior surges for a whole
Where's
host of
your hair,
reasons.
buddy?
With only 8 ICU beds left in the entire state, Dr. Ralston Poe says his hospital is seeing an increase in younger patients.
Young, healthy people should
They're gonna live.
from a viral
How great is that going to be? You're going to have people coming out of your hospital instead of, on their feet instead of in a bag. That's good news. What do you want, old fucking people dying in there?
We're seeing pretty rapid changes to the health of individuals that are infected with virus.
President Biden speaking out about states banning mask mandates despite the surge.
I find that totally counterintuitive and quite frankly disingenuous.
You have extended powers to intervene in states like Texas and Florida where they're banning mask mandates.
I don't believe that I do thus far. We're checking that.
In Texas, after multiple school districts defied the governor's mask ban, a San
Pretty weird
Antonio judge
situation.
issued an order allowing
The federal government's sort of staying out of the state's business.
And in Kentucky, the
But they want them to do
governor
certain
mandated
stuff anyway.
schools mask up. As U.S. COVID cases now top 36 million, the push to vaccinate, and confusion over booster
There's
shots
another
continue.
kid getting shot with a needle on MSNBC now. CNN showed the 2 kids, 1 adult in the first, I don't know, 20 minutes, 30 minutes. Oh shit, here's another fucking needle. Fuck you guys. God damn it, there's another fucking needle. Fuck you, people. I don't want to see you fuckers getting stabbed with needles. God damn it. Jesus Christ.
Look at the safety and efficacy data of third shots.
You guys are fucking
Before we
sickos.
make guidance about who will benefit from it and who won't.
If you think that an injection is the only way to get a vaccine, then you're an idiot.
I think lawmakers on both sides of the aisle are working together.
And I think we're going to look back and say this is the most mind-numbing time of our lives.
Democrats and Republicans,
All throughout history, there's been tragedies and reasons to
after years and
develop
years
new
of
technologies, and in this situation, they're using shit that's been around for fucking
that I truly believe
decades.
will transform America. This
needles,
still shows that
ventilators, masks.
I
There's 0 people out there want to do things perfectly.
didn't think this could happen.
0 people out there have a higher vision, a greater vision.
That bipartisanship is a thing of the past. It was characterized as a relic of an earlier age. As you may well remember, I never.
Everybody,
I still do.
half the country
I
thinks,
want to thank those senators who worked so hard to bring this.
apparently half the country thinks it's okay to jab somebody with a needle in the face.
For the Republicans who supported this bill.
I shouldn't say that. Democrats are not half the country. If you look at the percentage of,
It's hard for both sides.
if you look at how many votes the Democratic candidate for president gets, and then if and then if you look at Trump, and then if you look at the total number of people in the United States, there's 330 million people in the United States roughly. Only about 20 some odd percent vote for these people in the presidential election. So I don't want to get into the habit of saying half the country, blah, 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 Democrat, half the country, blah, blah, Republican, because in reality, both of them occupy about a much smaller fraction of the country, if you judge it by their votes.
I mean, the thing about this is that they, like you heard the president, they are sitting in the audience with them. They haven't been this excited this entire 8 months of them being in office. This is something that they have been looking forward to, a day when they can kind of say to the naysayers, you know, we told you so. President Biden promised on the campaign trail he's going to bring some bipartisanship. And to be clear, this is a huge deal, right? Like, this is a lot of money. The president and his and Democrats are running. They say this infrastructure investment is more than we've seen in a very long time. So that's number one. But then also this proof that you can kind of find some common ground in a world
The
where
U.S.
we're not seeing a lot of that.
debt is up to $28.6 trillion. It's a lot. It doesn't matter because they just print their own money and they're the most powerful country in the world. So, it don't matter. Nobody cares. The only time people care about it is when they want to try to spend less money. On Americans.
But with this reconciliation bill, we've already heard Jen Psaki say if folks need to come to the White House and open
It's kind of funny if you think about it. 0 taxpayers. It's 0 taxpayers' fault that there's a $28.6 trillion debt. That's not my fault, not my family's fault, not anybody I know's fault, not your fault. It's the government's fault. They've been spending more money than they have been getting. Which is pretty much the first thing that you're taught, you know, about finances, you know. Just live within your means. Don't spend the money till you get it. And these people just don't give a shit. And then they want to put a fucking guilt trip on us and make it seem like we can't have good things because they don't know how to manage money.
You know, a lot of them have to talk about that all the time, so they kind of understand and the frustrations that both parents and leaders have when trying to figure out what is the best for kids. But then right now we know the president has said that they're going to be looking into what can the federal government do to kind of force the hand of some of these
very least, every budget should be balanced. There should be surplus. There shouldn't be a deficit in every single budget. If there's a deficit in every single budget, they'll never get out of debt. It's got to be a surplus in every budget for a very long time to have any hope of getting out of their debt.
Look at getting those kids that are under or over 12 to get vaccinated and looking at their
I'll just pay the principal.
because they know that is the place that they're going to be able to, if they're able to get these parents to get their kids vaccinated, that is going to be more effective than masks, which are obviously...
It's great, you know, kids need to get through the virus and the immunity, and then just like chickenpox, you know, you want it when you're a kid, get it out of the way, because when you're old and you get it, you die sometimes. When you're a kid and you get it, you don't. So get those kids that immunity and get it over with. It's going to be better to naturally be immune and get an immunity than to get jabbed with a needle with a weird stabilizer like methyl mercury in it and God knows what else, piercing the flesh. My mom said when I was a kid that they used to have parties where they would all get together, some parents, and they would infect their children so they would get an immunity.
I haven't looked at social media like, my family members, like my mom. My mom has been really concerned from the very beginning. And why are you doing this? Why are you putting yourself out there? You don't leave your comments on Facebook, and aren't you worried? But I could never get in that headspace because then I wouldn't continue to forge forward, right? So, listen, I'm 51 years old. I've had a lot of stumbling blocks come towards me in my life, and
Just a lot of thoughts and words for a meteorologist.
Fighting for, and this was, so I'll continue to do so.
You talked about the bravery of the women involved, but I think your bravery can't be
Yeah, her in-laws died after Governor Cuomo sent the old people back to the convalescent homes. I think a lot of people died, and I think it was just an oversight. It was just a bad decision. I don't know if he had bad advisors or what.
I don't know about on top.
I think that turned out to be a bad idea.
I just want my boys to know that their mom saw something that was important and decided to try to do better for them and for their future.
Gives me chills. Janice?
Love you both.
Okay, thanks, Jamie. Love you too.
Thank you.
All right, now to this. President Biden says he's looking into whether he has authority to intervene in states that are banning mask mandates.
I don't believe that I do. But there are on federal workforce I can.
The president's remarks come after he addressed states that have banned mask mandates like Florida and Texas. The president calling the efforts, quote, disingenuous, arguing governors should allow districts to follow CDC guidelines.
You probably should enforce, the government in Washington, D.C. probably shouldn't force states to do much of anything. Because, the states care more about their state, and districts care about more of their people.
I quit your policies.
They know their people better,
And I quit being a cog in a machine that tells me to push highly
One size fits all doesn't
on our
work.
most vulnerable constituents, the children. I will find employment elsewhere.
YouTube suspends Rand Paul. Twitter suspends Rep. MT Green.
Twitter suspended Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene for 1 week after she tweeted the FDA should not approve COVID vaccines because they are failing. This is the third and toughest penalty Twitter has imposed on Greene for sharing, again, misinformation.
Wow.
Businesses are raising wages to attract.
They're really trying to control the COVID information. I tried to forward Rand Paul video yesterday. I think it was the one that they were talking about. And I got this message popped up on Facebook that said, like, are you sure you want to do this? Are you sure it's reliable information? And I'm like, yeah. I even took a screenshot of it because I was like, this is kind of crazy. It's funny, they flagged one of my posts from, I don't know, a few months ago, and I got some kind of warning for it, and it was just about the Wuhan lab theory, about how the virus might have come from the Wuhan lab. And it's funny now, they're saying it really might have come from the Wuhan lab. So I don't know if they would ban it today or whatever.
Everyone joined CNN for a once-in-a-lifetime concert event. We Love New York City, the homecoming concert. That's Saturday, August 21st, only on CNN.
That looks cool. A lot of older bands, but I bet they'll have some good songs. New York's a trip, man. When I was there in 2012, I got a I Love New York shirt, and I liked it a lot. But it's really weird. It's gigantic, and it's very polluted, and it's not totally safe. And but I liked how it was a 24-hour type city, and things were open all night, all over the place. Because I like staying up all night. If I'm not mistaken, I think I stayed up for 1 week straight in New York. I was there for 3 weeks, and I slept outside a couple times. I slept under a bench once. I slept in the Bowery in a church once. I slept in a hotel in Chelsea. And I think those were the main places. I fell asleep on a subway by accident. It was a trip. I was checking it out when I was decided to leave San Diego. I was thinking about moving there. It was top 3 on my list. But I don't know. It would have been tough. And there's a lot of pollution. There's bags of garbage everywhere. There's trash everywhere. And then all the automobile pollution is just absolutely nuts. And so there's just like pockets of fresh air and pockets of places that weren't just filthy. And I found some of them, but it was an adventure. It gets real cold there too, and snows, and they get hurricanes. After I left, a hurricane hit. Today I've noticed a lot less pressure for what it's worth. These stations aren't having a litany of people and statements urging people to get vaccinated today for some reason. But they're still have it in the mix though. Every, I don't know, 4th, 5th, some odd story. Some kind of COVID jab plea. It dawned on me yesterday that old people own these stations, If a 25-year-old kid owned CNN, then they wouldn't be playing all this shit. You know what I mean? If a 30-year-old kid owned MSNBC, they wouldn't be talking this way. So nah, this is old money, these people. This is what's important to old rich people. And I consider almost everybody in the United States rich, by the way. I don't know if most people look at Americans that way, but I do. Right? If you're dirt poor, you can get food stamps. So automatically, $200-300 some odd dollars, maybe more, depending on your state, a month just in food. So say yours $300, that's the happy recipient of $3,600 of food. So most countries. you know, there's a bunch of countries where that would be make you a rich person.
Absolutely unacceptable and unjust. Look, after more than 2 years in detention, finally a verdict in the case of the detained Canadian businessman Michael Spavor. A court in Denver,
And then on and on.
they sentenced him to 11 years in prison for espionage. They also said that he could be deported, but did not specify when. Earlier today, we heard from the Canadian ambassador in China. He slammed the verdict. Take a listen.
We condemn in the strongest possible terms this decision rendered after a legal process that lacked both fairness and transparency. Our thoughts are with Michael and his family during this.
Yeah, it's kind of frustrating when.
We've maintained
Yeah, it's really strange actually when people are going to like food banks because they think they're poor and they've got these big giant new vehicles that they're like driving through this drive-through to get like a bag of food. And I'm going, oh my god. So you got a roof over your head, you've got a nice and big new vehicle, and you just need food. Maybe you didn't budget too well or something.
Now, she has been under house arrest with them. She is fighting extradition to the United States. She insists that she is innocent. China insists.
But I think the way EBT works, for what it's worth, is it goes off of income. It doesn't go off of savings or whatever, assets. So that's why I remember a story in the past about somebody that had some millionaire or some guy had tons of gobs of money, but he was making very, very little money, and so he was qualifying for EBT. So, and that's kind of gaming this system, in my opinion.
We stand shoulder to shoulder with Canada, calling for the immediate and unconditional release of both Michael Kovrig and.
But then again, too, I don't know. It's, in a way, it's gaming the system, and in a way, everybody is equal, and everybody's entitled to the same benefits. Whether you're rich or poor, you've got the same rights.
Christy, what is the likelihood that either of these two men
We should still pay a lot of taxes.
At this moment, we don't know. I've been talking to observers and legal experts earlier today who said that because of this possibility of deportation, that introduces some ambiguity and some.
I think in the U.S. people can pay up to 39% in tax or something. So it might be the top bracket.
But we also did hear from Canada's ambassador in China who said that their interpretation of the verdict is that Spavor would soon be.
But you gotta make a lot of money to have to pay that much. I think probably over a few $100,000 a year.
Let's stay live from Hong Kong for us. Thank you. All right, President Biden saying he has
It adds up. So you make $500,000 a year. If you gotta pay 40% in tax.
We spent over $1 trillion over 20 years. We trained and equipped with modern equipment for 300,000 Afghan forces. And Afghan leaders have to come together.
That's why when I was running for governor in California, one of the first things I did was sign the No New Taxes pledge. Because it was in the recall election. Like, mismanagement of funds was one of the issues that got Gray Davis recalled. So we just needed to audit the books and not just put a band-aid on it. Raise taxes. Raising taxes is probably the last resort.
Afghan forces appear to be
That should go to stuff like fire, schools.
I was preparing for this live shot. Yet another provincial capital fell. That's 9 provincial capitals, more than a quarter of Afghanistan's total provincial capitals. And we visited others, much bigger cities like Kandahar, Afghanistan's second largest city, also Ghazni, where we were just a couple of days ago. And they are too completely surrounded. Heavy fighting going on in Herat and Lashkar-Gah. And so there's no sign that this train is slowing down anytime soon. We did hear the Afghan president, Ashraf Ghani, came out on Twitter and basically called on ordinary Afghans to go and join a popular uprising, to basically sign up with their local warlord and try to essentially fight to stop the Taliban and
Interview him.
to recover some of the territory that has already been lost.
A good
But I
warlord
think
lately.
at this point, everyone on the ground has a sort of creeping grim realization that that is a very tall order indeed.
So, Carissa, what about these peace talks?
Taliban kicks their ass. What can you say?
Is there a potential diplomatic solution to this here?
They waited out the Americas.
Well, there's not a lot of optimism about that. Either of these talks have been onward.
Seriously, think about it. These people are resilient. They actually spread it into Pakistan too. So if you talk about the Taliban, there's actually two. You could be talking about two different groups: Afghanistan Taliban and the Pakistan Taliban.
And so they believe that they can win, and they're going to keep on winning, essentially, until they're
Wow.
given
U.S. officials fear Kabul could fall sooner than expected.
They also feel very strongly because naturally they've been criticized for the high number of casualties, including civilian casualties. They're putting a lot of the blame on government forces and also on the U.S. for using those airstrikes. Just one more note, Christine, I do think it's important because it really tells the story of the growing dread about what's happening here in Kabul. The U.S. government now, according to CNN's Kylie Atwood, who's reporting from the State Department, is actively considering reducing its staff personnel here in Kabul and doing it soon. And that would be absolutely a real grim marker of what seems to be a growing desperate situation.
We've seen some of this video of civilians on the move. What is the situation right now for civilians? You talk about this feeling of dread in Kabul and these virtual capitals. What's happening to them?
I mean, it's a nightmare for them, Christine. Hundreds of thousands of people have been displaced from their home. Afghans
It's a change in power. Why are they displaced from their home? Why? Why can't they keep living where they're living? Who's living where they're living? This doesn't make any sense. Okay, now they're showing some of the homes that are toasted.
Is so often the worst type of combat for civilians because they're living in and among it and they don't have other
Doesn't sound like there's
options, they don't
combat.
have other places to go.
Taliban seized 9th regional Afghan capital. It just said 8 like half hour ago.
Are now camped out.
These people are winning
Kunduz, which fell to the Taliban a few
quicker
days
than
ago, and no sense of when they might be able to go home, Christine.
Just living through, honestly, living
there's
through
a shocking number of people displaced for the speed that they're winning.
Thank you so much, Carissa Ward, on the scene for us.
I don't understand why there isn't a peaceful transition. Why in the hell do they want to mess with civilians? Don't they want the civilians there?
Dangerously hot conditions could affect critical infrastructure, causing utility outages and disrupting transportation. The emergency will remain in effect until August 20th. Back in June, multiple days of record
Oregon governor declares emergency ahead of extreme heat wave.
related deaths in Oregon. All right, to business now this Wednesday morning. Let's get a check on some
Heat waves are not good for fire.
around the world. Asian shares closed slightly higher. Europe has opened higher for the morning. On Wall Street, stock index futures this morning.
Frankfurt, Shanghai, pre-stagnant, Dow stagnant.
NASDAQ down just a little tiny bit. It was a record day for investors after the Senate passed that bipartisan infrastructure bill. The Dow closed up 162 points, hitting a fresh high. The S&P 500 also hit an all-time high. The NASDAQ closed lower. Key data after a couple of hours, the consumer price index for July. The prices have risen month after month as the economy roars back to life. Finally,
Everybody knew it was going to do that.
Far, far out of your price range, maybe. Disney unveiling details about its new luxury Star Wars hotel. Set to open at Disney World next spring, the Galactic Star Cruiser Hotel is an immersive 2-day Star Wars adventure, complete with lightsaber experiences, various Star Wars characters to interact with. Rates can run as high as $6,000 for a 2-night stay. That's 2 parents and 2 kids.
Oh my
Very
God.
cool. May the force be with you and your wallet.
$6,000 for 2 days.
15 room in 3 days, isn't it?
That's out of control. Who can afford that? Oh my God.
Is a credit card company.
Pakistan?